The complex of perfect, right? When you're out socializing, talking to chicks, I know that so many people have issues with the way they manage the impression that they're making, they manage their own emotions, they're kind of worried in the way that the way they're coming across, and the way that they feel, all right? So all these weird imperfections, and the problem is going to be that you're going to be apologetic. You're going to think that you're not operating on your highest level. You're going to think that you're not being your best self. You're going to think maybe that you're not enough, when of course there's no reason why you're not enough. And the concept of perfect is an attitude that I see in very small-minded, dumb people, very kind of uneducated people, but those people are actually really good with girls, okay? Because they're kind of naive and a little bit self-absorbed. The concept of perfect is you considering yourself to be socially perfect because you're making the best decision you possibly can at any given time and working with and responding to whatever happens in light of the decisions that you're making. Okay, so I used to see very intelligent, very attractive, very expressive, confident guys who thought that they were imperfect because they basically knew too much, or they held what they knew about the social world, what they learnt about it, against themselves. And then I'd see guys who were naive, dumb, alpha male type jocks who had this complex of perfect, who thought, I don't know what I'm doing the best that I know at any given time, it must be right, it must be good enough, like I'm naive, I'm just doing what I'm doing. And girls would respond so much better to that kind of attitude, that kind of unapologetic attitude, because in a relative leadership role, in a approaching and providing an interaction for a girl kind of a role, it just feels strong, okay? Even if the game is worse, and the empathy is worse, and the expression is worse, and the qualification and the appreciation of the girls that you're speaking to, even if all of that is worse, if you're rolling around with the attitude that I'm just doing the best that I can at any given time, I don't know any tricks or tips or tactics, or I don't have anything to measure myself against, then you can actually shrug off all these expectations and feel really relaxed and at ease with yourself and unapologetic. So that complex of perfect, you know that your intentions are really good. You know that your goal is for you to have a fun time. And the truth is, you're actually probably doing the best that you possibly can at any given time as well. That's already true for you. So that being the case, you can say that the way that you're operating and thinking is actually perfect. Okay, you know, it's the best that is possible at any one given time. Sure, you know, just like with business, when you make an initiative, when you send out a proposal or propose business with somebody, they're going to send back some kind of corrections, and you can respond to that and you can work with that. Okay, so there is no one ideal, perfect route from A to B when you're meeting a girl, hooking up and making things happen. There's always going to be, she's always going to need things like reassurance, there's going to be logistical issues, there's going to be infrastructure mishaps, like phones don't work and communication problems and people getting drunk and not remembering things, stuff like that. So you can basically continue to charge forward, overcoming hurdles, knowing apologetically that you're doing the best that you can with the best intentions in mind for everybody involved at all times, and perfect, okay? And imagine that feeling, okay? Internalize that feeling for a moment with me. You're thinking, I'm in the bar and I'm perfect, okay? I can do no wrong because I have no wrong intentions. It's that old saying that when you go out, you may not win, but you definitely can't lose. And that's the realistic expectation to have. You may not win, but you definitely can't lose. So you're walking around just being perfect. And what is the girl going to pick up on? She's going to pick up on you as a guy who has nothing to worry about. There's nothing that you possibly could worry about because you can't control things that are beyond your knowledge or beyond your control. I mean, it's not a slave state. You can't enslave and control other human beings. And she's going to pick up and think, well, what is it about that guy? Why doesn't he care? What is it that he thinks is so perfect about him without being arrogant or self-absorbed? Whereas every other guy who's too smart for himself, worried about his money, finance, his car, the way he looks, his body, his hair, especially in fucking Sweden, the way their hair looks is crazy. And the girl is going to feel like, you've got something that the other guys don't. And when you're put to the test, when the girl tests you, rejects you, walks away, diverts your attention, your reaction is going to be like, all good, reapproach. I did the best I could possibly do at that time. No stress for me. Whereas others will take that so seriously and analyze it, and they'll immediately go back into their head and think, I could have done that better, I could have done this better, it could have been this, it should have been that, or whatever. Whereas you're going to be like, well, I will remember something next time. Okay, I did the best I could under social pressure while I wasn't warmed up, while I had a bit of approach anxiety. And if you can reassure yourself, it comes from a place of reassuring yourself that you have good intentions. Okay, you have perfect intentions for everyone to have fun. If fun is possible, logistically, emotionally, whatever, then you're going to be very much emotionally bulletproof. Okay, you're not going to have state crashes. You walk home at the end of the night saying, I did everything that I possibly could, knowing that it was right, unapologetic, and you're going to create scenarios where when you reapproach girls or when you encounter them again and again and again throughout the night, you're never going to be confused, desperate, needy, confrontational, and they're going to start to realize that you stand out in a pure way instead of a controlling, self-analytical and distressed kind of way. In the pickup industry, people talk a lot about self-trust, right? And that's a kind of a complicated, deep term, but it can be very simple if you make it that way. Just trust in the perfection complex. Trust that you're doing the best you can at any given time, and you're going to trust in that, because really, what else can you do? What else can you control? Nothing. So you're trusting that you can control perfectly what you're doing, but you can't control anything else going on around you. You can make your approaches, you can initiate contact, and you can reapproach up to 4 times, but that's all you can do. And with that comes like a huge burden and a weight off your shoulders. Again, I would see these super simple-minded, uneducated, aggressive guys just going up and like getting in girls' space, and girls will be like, well, he's just a guy being a guy, and I like the attention, and he does work out, but he's an idiot. Well, I'm not going to regret fucking him if he's an idiot, because I'm not going to fall in love with him. And that would have such a more positive emotion and be innocent and be able to move forward than a guy who's too smart for himself, worrying about the imperfections that would then basically slam the brakes on an interaction, and where you would be your own worst enemy, making it hard for you and almost impossible for the girl to get to know you. I'm not saying that when you're taking yourself into consideration that you need to think that you're perfect. When you're dealing with yourself, think that you can always learn more. Be humble, open your mind to others, being accepting of others' ideas, and be very open to criticism to yourself. But when you're leading in interaction and when you're playing a leadership role to others, you are allowed to establish premises of perfection or things that are true that you can believe in, that you have the right to approach, that you're unapologetic, that you want a good time for others. And when you nail down those solid ideas and beliefs, you create a premise for you and the people that you're initiating conversation with to go forward from. Okay, so there's something to rely on. If you walk up and you say, I'm 100% unapologetic to come and talk to you, that's good, you can work with that. But if you approach somebody saying, I'm a little worried about bothering you, then you're going to dwell on the question of whether or not it's okay to talk to one another at all. The thing is, when you start operating under a perfection complex, it's going to come across as a little bit arrogant to other people, okay? A little bit too self-assured and self-trusting. But what's going to happen then is people are going to question you and confront you, and you're going to invariably make mistakes. And when that happens, when you get kind of pulled down off that pedestal that you're projecting yourself up onto, it's going to be kind of funny, self-deprecating humor. And when people challenge you and challenge your perfection or your self-belief or your self-trust, then you're going to get into these kind of arguments and confrontations and this good friction and tension, which is basically what it is to flirt in this day and age, like flirting, arguing, conflict, unresolved tension and stuff like that. So believing in yourself and having others question that is really good if you're willing to argue back and be proven wrong and be challenged. It's very, very engaging instead of just being kind of wishy-washy about the way that you operate or the way that you believe in yourself. So remember that perfection complex, okay? You can walk around unapologetic, take all the weights off your shoulders, that attitude of maybe slightly arrogant, but I'm doing the best that I know at any given time. If you make it simple for yourself, you make it easier and simpler for others to engage with you, and then you'll be able to have longer nights, more controlled emotions, more positive feelings inside of you because you're very much in touch with your positive intentions. You'll warrant some good criticism, you'll warrant challenges, and you'll make people curious as to why you've got this good self-trusting belief system in a way that so many other guys don't, okay? So I really like it because it is the truth. It's not an affirmation. It's not like my game is a 10. It's like you are doing the best you know with your game at any given time, and nobody can fault that, okay? Because it is based in good intentions. So